I'm sitting with Bob Halford, who I've known for many years, and been one of our great ambassadors of roller speed skating. I think it's fair to say. And he celebrated his 90th birthday this year, which I'm pleased to say I also went to his birthday party, and a great time was had by all. It was nice to see so many faces of past and present there. But this is another one of the British Skating Legends DVDs, and I'd like to take the opportunity to talk to Bob about his skating career. But first off, let's just find out a bit about Bob. So when and where was you born, Bob?
I was born in Blackboy Lane in Tottenham in 1921 on the 20th of March.
Yeah. So in those days, I suppose, as I said, it was quite different to what it is now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So, and as you grew up there, I mean, being born in 1921, I know like the Second World War broke out in 39, so you'd have been about 18. So I imagine you would have took some sort of active involvement in the war.
Yeah, I joined the Air Force when I was 19, in June 1940. I joined up for a wireless operator air gunner, but they wouldn't take me at the time. They were very fussy with the ad. And they said, you can come in as the general duties man and eventually you'll get a course for wireless operator air gunner. I was interested in wireless, which I still am. I'm an amateur radio operator now. And I waited and I got married, and then I'd gone to Egypt, and when I was in Egypt they said, oh, you can be a straight air gunner now, but you can't do the wireless. So I'd been in the Air Force a couple of years in and seen what happened to rear gunners, and I said, well, if you'd have taken me in 1940 I would have been dead. But as you didn't take me, I'm not going to go now because I wanted to be a wireless operator as well. So I refused and I stayed as a dispatch rider for 6 years.
Oh, right. So that's where your love of motorbikes came into it. Okay. So you say you got married. So when did you get married?
I got married in 1941.
Did you? And how did you meet Doris?
I met my wife in Wood Green when I used to cycle up and down looking at the young ladies, and then when I went up to the skating rink she came skating as well, and we picked up and we decided to get married in the wartime because you never know, you were here today and gone tomorrow, so yeah. We thought we'd get a little allowance for marriage allowance through the RAF, and which we did.
So so you say even at the start of the war you was into skating then?
Yeah, I used to skate to school when I was in Blackboy Lane. Just after I moved from Blackboy Lane I moved to Mount Pleasant Road, and they said then that I would have to change schools to go to Belmont School, which was a different area. So I said, no, I won't, I'll get there. So they said, how will you get there? I said, I'll skate. And I used to skate to school every day.
Oh, right.
Where I moved to in Mount Pleasant Road, and I used to skate to school. And whilst I was at the other school there, we were skating along the road one day towards school, my friends and I, and we said, oh, there's our teacher. So we showed off a bit and showed him how good we were on our skates. And later on in the day, when he called me out to say a certain poem called The Windmill by Henry Longfellow, I got halfway through it and fumbled with it, and he said, yes, Halford, if you could do your lessons like you could skate, you'd be a good scholar. You made me look very small.
So how did you get into speed skating then?
Well, I used to run a few errands on a Saturday morning, and then when I got sixpence I used to skate up to Alexandra Palace and go in and skate for sixpence in the children's session on a Saturday morning. Right. On the same skates as I skated on the street in.
Really?
Yeah, and then skate home again.
Yeah.
And the man there, Jimmy Reed, was a European champion and that, and became floor manager, and he got up a group of chaps who he'd seen on Saturday morning and said, would you like to learn to speed skate and compete? To which we said yes, and we formed a nucleus of members for Alexandra Palace after about a year.
Right.
But they didn't really want us because we were all a bit yobbos at the time, and the Palace was rather an elite club at the time. But anyway, they accepted us and we all did fairly well at it. And it really got hold of me, and I've never left it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you were sort of what age would have been 18, 19 during the
Yeah.
war. So really, I mean, so before the war, you'd been up there raced.
Yeah.
Had you raced before the
No, I
war?
didn't race. No, because you couldn't race till you were 16.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And you know, I
Yeah.
wasn't 16 then. Before that, when
Right.
I first went up there and learned
Yeah.
to skate. But I was overseas for 3 years. We had 2 years in Egypt, and we
Yeah.
used to skate in Egypt. My friend Frank and I used to go down to the rink in the afternoons when it was a siesta time, and they used to say we were mad because
Right.
the sun was belting down, and everyone said, to use the Arabic term, we were Macnoon, which means mad in Arabic.
Oh, right.
But nevertheless, we used to do it, and
Yeah.
then he got posted off to Italy, and I had a chance to go to Italy with a chap was posted with another one from headquarters where I was in Cairo, and he said, "Oh, I don't get on with this chap." So I went and saw the CO, and he asked him if he could change it, and I'd go with him, hoping to meet up with my pal again in Italy. And he said, "What do you think? This is a holiday camp?" He said, "But all right," and he let me go. So we made a swap, and I went to Italy.
Oh, brilliant.
But unfortunately, my friend got wounded, got shot up in Lancaster, and bailed out over Turkey and went back to Cairo. And when I left him, he was in Cairo, sleeping in my bed in Cairo, waiting to come home.
Oh, right.
Which he did. He came home, and I stayed another year in Italy. And then when I come home, well, I'd been in and bleeded out. I couldn't keep up with the bugger. But I eventually did. And he was a great friend to me.
So so the speed skating. So when was your first race then?
The first race I raced was unattached when I was with this man Jimmy Reed,
Yeah.
and it was a handicap, and I ran off for 35 yards
Really.
in the first year of skating before I joined the club,
Right.
and I won a canteen of cutlery, and I was so elated. I came home and my dad had gone to bed, and I woke him up and said, "Look what I've won." And he said, "Well, it was a handicap, wasn't it? They gave 35 yards. He didn't win it. They gave it to you."
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think. Yeah, I've only won a couple of handicaps.
That was the first race I won. You know, I won numerous races since, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've only got records of your championships, sort of, if you like, and looking through the records, I've got 1946.
Yeah.
You won the relay with the Palace,
Yeah.
with Artigan, Martin, and Cook.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, in 46.
Yeah.
So that was the sort of, was that your first sort of time as emerging on the British Championships? Yeah. So, but that tell me about Artigan, because he was an international.
Yeah,
wasn't
he was. When I came back out of the Air Force, there was two fellas who hadn't never been in the forces.
Yeah.
Hardigan was one. Well, I can understand why he hadn't been, because he was an aircraft worker. He worked at the Havillands at
Right.
Hatfield. But there's another fella, Bill Cook, and he seemed to me to be somehow or other a dodger, you know, what we called a dodger in those days, and he didn't go. So I was determined more never to beat him. And when one day they said about representing Great Britain, so I jokingly said, well, I represented Great Britain when they were needing them in the Royal Air Force for 6 years. And, you know, it didn't go down very well, but it was true. So, anyway, eventually I saw him off, and I got up with the elite, but I never managed to beat him. I was always second.
Second and third, yeah. Well, I mean, in them days, I imagine, like, you know, to come second,
Yeah.
it was quite. Although you say that you never won one, but I mean, Sterling Moss never, not the races, but you know what I mean, a championship. But Sterling Moss was never world champion yet, one of the greatest ever motor racing drivers. But I mean, to come second or third in them days must have been a fantastic achievement. Anyway.
I mean, in those days we used to run one race for a whole afternoon and evening.
Yeah.
You know, we'd have 100 competitors, and you go through heats. And I remember doing the 5 mile and had to skate 15 miles to get second.
Yeah, of course,
Get through the heat, get through the semis, and right through.
Yeah.
And then later on, when I began to feel my feet, so had Bullby, and they had 3 strong skaters, and each one I think I could have beat individually, but when they were a good team, they were skated well as a team, and I couldn't beat all. If I'd have been good enough, I would have been able to beat all 3 of them in one go, but I was never that good.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's all relative. Never that good. I mean, when you won, I mean, you won in '46, and then the same team again in '48. It was again you, Hartigan, Martin, and Cook in '48. So, although you'd relinquished your title in '47, you came back and won the British Championship relay again, like the year after that in '48, and then you got a hat trick of relays. When you in '49, you won it again, but this time Best replaced Cook. I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was my mate who I joined the Royal Air Force with in 1940. We were two only sons, and we had a chat amongst ourselves and decided that we'd like to join the Air Force and fly.
Yeah.
Which we both did, and we did our training at Blackpool and thinking we'd get together, but we didn't. He went to Yorkshire and I went to Oxford, so Abingdon in Oxford. So we didn't see each other only on leave. But when he got posted out to Egypt, and shortly afterwards I got posted out, and I was writing to him thinking he was miles away. According to what I could find, he was in Palestine, but he wasn't. I'd been going up to his base where he was, just outside Cairo, which was called Landing Ground 224 then. I assume it's the Cairo airport now.
Yeah.
But and when we eventually did get contact with one another, he found that when he had his days off, he could come down to Cairo and we could skate in Cairo together, which we did.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, so like in the late '40s, I mean, like you say, you never won a championship, but second and third, I mean, that was good enough to be in the national team in them days. I mean, there was only 4 people selected, and there was no women in the late '40s. There was no women championships, and so really, you were still in the elite. And you had a few spells in the national team. 1948, you went to
47.
47.
47 we raced over here.
Right.
At Alexander Palace and Herne Bay. We had the Belgian team over.
Yeah.
And we got our first international there. We only raced Belgium, but
yeah.
it qualified for a badge anyway.
Right.
And then 48, I think you went to either Monfalcone or Ferrara.
Well, you went to I've got down you went to Monfalcone in 48, which was the World Championships in then. Yeah. And you got 7th place. I got you down as in the 5K. Yeah.
Because we hadn't. I mean, the only road skating I'd done then was skating to school and back. We never did any competitive road racing in those days. Yeah. So
in 48, but you went again in 49 to Ferrara.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And but
I went with Dennis Hill and Don Brown then, I think, didn't I?
That's right, 49.
49.
And that was on the road again.
Yeah.
But the same year they had the Worlds in Portugal.
Oh yeah.
In Lisbon.
I never went there.
No. Yeah. Why didn't you go to Portugal?
Well, I don't know. I think what happened was I don't know, what year was that?
49. They had road and track in that year.
I probably wasn't good enough.
I don't believe that for 1 minute. So, who was in 48 when you went in 48 then to Monfalcone? Who was your manager?
Who was what?
The manager. Can you remember? I know it was Weatherburn one.
Yeah, I know. We went one with George Lord.
Right. Okay.
And I don't know who that was. I think it was George Lord on both occasions.
Right.
I think he was the manager.
And did you only do the 2 World Championships, or did you?
Yeah.
You did the 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know when I was again looking through the records, they went back to Monfalcone in '51, and I know you said you went out there, and you went out there to watch presumably, and but there was no World Championships in 1950. So was you still racing then?
Yeah, I raced up until 51. And I was playing hockey as well then, and I found they both clashed a bit, having to be in the team. I was the goalkeeper, and I thought I was letting them down if I went to a speed event and that, so I decided that I'd retire from both in 52 and go on the committee.
How dare you! How dare you put hockey before speed skating?
Well, I didn't actually.
Yeah.
I just couldn't cope with both, I suppose.
Really? Yeah. So in actual fact in '52 then. So you went onto the committee then. So what would you have been?
Well, just after that.
Just
yeah.
after. So you'd have still been in your early 30s then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's all right. There was still some mileage in
Yeah,
them
I
legs.
probably
then,
could
Bob.
have carried on. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. So what would you? What sort of capacity was you on the committee? Was you just a general committee member at that time?
Yeah,
Was you?
yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, like obviously over the years you've
Yeah, I
done.
went on with the idea that most people come onto the roller speed committees today to change things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it took a long while. We worked hard at it, and we did get things changed a little bit, and we thought for the best. And
Yeah.
well, when I was a judge, I was made the international judge, and I did my best to be unbiased. And
Yeah.
as far as I know, I was recognised as a decent judge. And the International Federation eventually made me honorary judge when I retired, so that was a bit of an honour to think that, they appreciate it.
Yeah, well, they don't just give that away willy-nilly. So
No,
you've
I
obviously
mean,
done something right.
Not many people
No,
got
that's
made
right.
international judge.
Well,
Even the famous Henry never got made international honorary judge.
that's right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because he was commissioner, wasn't he? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that. Well, I know how well respected you are worldwide. I mean, when I put on the internet that I was going to attend Bobby Halford's 90th birthday, and Bill Beak come on and says, "Oh, wish him all the best." Like, I was there at this incident and that incident, and what I mean, when the woman chased Henry around the table and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So he said Bob was there. So
I suppose I was a bit of a rebel, at that time. I mean, I didn't take things lightly, and I'd always stand up for what I thought was right, or what I thought was right for skating more than what I thought was right to suit me. I didn't do things to suit me. I did things to suit the sport, which I thought would benefit the sport.
My old man says, like, we'll come on to the team management side and a bit like, and my dad was lucky enough to obviously be with you for a lot of the trips, but he did say to me, funny enough, just the other night, he says Bob could be a bit of a fiery character. He said, I think that was the Docker in him, he says.
Yeah, it was, probably was,
He says, he used to didn't stand any nonsense. So, so what was your first trip as manager? Because obviously, see, as a kid, I mean, I grew up. I was born in '67, and but I've been always around skating from the time I've set foot on this planet. But and you've always been around really in that capacity. But
I don't know. My memory's not that good. I can't remember. I know I was team manager for a number of years.
Yeah. Well, I looked
10 or 12 years.
Like
that.
Well, I weren't sure if your first one was Argentina when Folly won. And I don't know if that was
No, we went before that. We'd gone to Argentina before Folly won.
Yeah.
I went, that one?
66 was there was a six. Well, there was, I think they went out to Argentina.
We went to Argentina when they first built the track.
Oh, right.
And they were in the process of building it finishing it off when we first arrived there, and there was much ado about it, and they said, what do you think of the track? And some of them were saying it weren't any good and all that, but I thought, in the interest of the country and all that, whether we thought it was bad or not, I said, no, it was a good track and we do well there, and we did quite well.
Right.
And I know on one occasion, John Foley had his skates and wheels, changing them on a box there that was one of the workers, one of the Argentine workers. And this Argentine worker come up and wanted to move it all right in the middle of the wheels, and I done me nut a bit and told him to careful.
Yeah, right. Slingies up. Yeah.
He's twice as big as me, but he went.
So that must have been 69. That must have been the year that Folly won.
Won, probably,
Yeah. So what do you remember much about that trip when Folly won?
Well, I mean, it was a wonderful trip. I mean, having been before, I knew where to go and what to do.
Right. Yeah. Because Bill...
I thought that, being a team manager was not like certain people back home were saying it's a holiday for you. It was no holiday, I can assure you. And I looked after the skaters like I had hoped that people had looked after me in my time. And my prime object was to see that they were where they had to be at the right time, and to represent them through the channels and see that they got fair play. And I think I did that.
Well, I know, again, like my dad, when I was talking to him, and he says that the one thing that Bob did well or was very good at was man management. He says the team never ever wanted for anything
No,
when Bob was the manager. He says that, he said he used to get up really early. He said he was immaculate. He says and he'd even bring you tea in bed.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
he says he said he can remember, and it was like almost, you know, it was very protective towards his boys or towards his skates, you know, and I think that really worked well for him, because he said that as a skater, when you go there, you know, you want to go and concentrate on your skating and the competition. And I think as a manager, it's what he said. Like, it was obviously he was very well respected within the team, and the fact that you looked after them. In other words, like it says, is that you bring them a cup of tea in bed. I mean, most kids wouldn't do that for their dad. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, it was.
No, well, I mean, really, I felt as though I was part of the team, and I still used to skate then. I mean, I couldn't keep up with them, but I could go and have a roll round with them. And as I say, I thought that the team manager's job was to look after the team and do things in general for them, which I did. And at one time, Ernie Matthews said to me, "Do you wipe their bums for them and all?"
Oh, really?
I said, "No, but I would if I thought they were going to win."
Yeah, talk about it. Tell me about Ernie Matthews. What was he like?
Well, he was a nice man, really, but he was keen. He was a very keen man, you know, a genuine man.
Yeah.
He said, like I do, he says what he thought, and, you know, and if you didn't like it, you didn't like it.
Yeah.
I got on quite well with him, although, you know, I didn't always agree with his policies 100%.
Yeah.
But I did what I thought I had to do as a manager, and it wasn't so much of what I did, it was that I had the talent there to do it, and they did it.
Right. He seemed very, because Ernie was quite stiff upper lip.
Well, yeah, he was more bombastic and officious, you know, which Henry was before me. And I mean, Henry used to used to treat the team like they were babies, like, you know. But when I went, I treated them like they were. They were men. They were grown men. Some were married and some weren't, and I treated them like men, and they respected me for it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, throughout your tenure as manager, that certainly on the men's side of it, there was like a quartet of skaters really that was really difficult to break into. That was Mullane, McGough, Feetham, and Fry. You know, and Sharman obviously before those, and Foley. But the sort of in the early 70s, like I say, the Feetham, Mullane, you know, Fry, McGough quartet were quite a successful group, and you know,
they were all good skaters.
They were all good skaters.
Well, that's what I said in the past. I said, "You were a good manager." I said, it wasn't so much of my manager, it was the fact that I had the people there that could do it, and it was just, I mean, in those days you could only put 3 in out of 4, and I had great difficulty in dropping one. And we, you know, when we come to things like that, I used to say, "Well, come on then, come up my room, we'll have a cup of tea and we'll sit down and we'll discuss it," and that's what we did. I didn't make a whole 100% decisions. I listened to their point of view as well. I've got a cup down there that says, "To our team manager, Bob from the team." And I always say today, to any of the team managers today, if you get one of those like that engraved from your team, then you know that
they care.
You're a team manager.
Well, in that team, you've got some quite, I wouldn't say complex cases. There's nothing complex about these guys because I know them. But certainly, you know, because when I was talking to John Mullane, and I says, like, you know, how did he perceive himself in the team? He said he was more the calming influence, because it you know, like Fry and McGough never really hit it off, you know, and Feetham was, he says he was off, you know, eating his food that he.
I had problems with him at times.
Well, for the old man said, if I says, what should I ask Bob? He says, ask him about Feetham and his diet. He says, because he'll say, so tell me about Feetham.
I remember on occasion there when I had him, and he said, "Well, I don't want that." I said, "What do you want to say?" He said, "Fish." I said, "Okay." So I got him fish for that day. So for the next day they fed fish. He said, "I don't want fish again." He was a problem with what's name, but I tried to make him happy and, you know, keep all the team happy. And I really enjoyed all the years I was team manager, and a great bunch of boys who couldn't bet her.
Really?
But they made it enjoyable for me, and I tried my best to make it enjoyable for them, and in return they won, and that was the main objective going anyway.
Well, did you see? I'm intrigued because I've grown up with only one sort of viewpoint, of like my dad's obviously, but I get the feeling that at times there was a few clashes within the team between him and McGough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it took me quite a while to eventually get them to skate and have faith in one another.
Really?
I mean, it took a few years, but once they got that, it was, okay, we took a leaf out of the Italians book, and I said to them, well, forget about the rules back home, go in there and do what they do to you, do it to them, and when it comes down to the finish and all that, well, we've decided who's going to win like the Italians did.
Yeah.
And we got to a stage at once there where we were able to say that okay, you go to 10,000 and you will win that, and you'll work for him to win it. And then if you didn't win it, well, then you had to work for the other one to win the one that we decided he would go for.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work very well. But it took quite a while to get them to do that. John and your dad, John Mullane and your dad, because they were team members anyway. And John Mullane was one of the best team members I could rely on. If I told him to go out and do something, he'd go and do it.
Really?
Whereas some of the others were fighting, they would get disqualified and all that.
Yeah.
But John wasn't worried whether he got disqualified. He was a good team man. I mean, I can remember a couple of occasions when I told him what to do and he just did it.
So was there a lot of that though going on? A lot of push and grab and
Oh yeah.
And did you feel that the team had to do it to keep up with like the Italians? Because the Italians were really masters at it, I suppose, and been doing it for a long time. And did we have to change our way of skating?
As a matter of fact, when they come back and we were judging back here, under here, sometimes I disqualify one of them and they can't say, well, you told me to bloody do it. I thought, well, that was different.
All right. So, is it a memorable race for you? I mean, I thought obviously following in the world, I suppose, is memorable. But is it a race where you think, that you look at and that still is quite vivid and
Well, no, they're all pretty vivid to me.
Really?
I remember them all, and wouldn't as you say, John Foley's champion, of course, was the pinnacle of a team manager to have a world champion.
Yeah.
And I know we were all over the moon when he did it, and we got other medals. Your dad got seconds, and your dad got Europeans, and that was a great pleasure to me. As much as it was to them. But the way I looked at it was that when I took the team aboard there, they all want to do well anyway. I only had to encourage them and sort of string along with them and make sure that they got everything that they were entitled to and that they were happy.
Yeah.
And well, I think if you ask most of them, they'd agree with that.
You said that about them winning Europeans. I mean, in 1978, they went to La Roche, and Fry won, McGough won, Mullane won, and then the team was withdrawn because of a foul with cancer. Now, Tony Wordsworth took that team away?
Yeah, well, my daughter got married that year, so I would have been team manager that year.
Right.
I couldn't. It clashed with my daughter getting married, so I had to give it over to Tony.
I wondered.
And I said to Tony afterwards, had I been a manager then, I would have probably made as much fuss as he did, but in the position that he was in, with the team as good as he had, and they'd won everything up until then, I would have made hell of a fuss, but I would have let the team go and let them win the other one, which they probably would have.
You'd have kept him in it.
But
you think
nevertheless, he was the manager at the time, and he had Henry there as well. And they decided to withdraw the team, but I don't think I would have done that.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Because I know Tommy Bartlett was with them that year, and Tom felt that he was, he was robbed. He said they'd all got one bar me.
And when it was his turn to go.
When it was his turn, they pulled out. Yeah, well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, he did mention that to me, and I said, well, Tom, had I been there, I would have paid a lot of noise as well if the occasion arose for the regulations.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I definitely wouldn't have withdrawn the team. Because I think always going back over it, they put so much time, and in those days, I don't know, certain amount of money and time and effort to do it, that it'd be unfair for me as one person to say no, we're going to withdraw the team.
Yeah.
So that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, no. Well, that's, it's an interesting view. I mean, I've never heard. I knew about what had happened, but I never heard your opinion. So, what about your own skating? When you used to skate, was there a race that stood out for you as a person when you were racing that you think, I tell you what, I was unsung there? Or
well, I just used to enjoy the skating. I tried to keep clean. I very rarely got disqualified. I'm not going to say I didn't get disqualified. I probably did, but when I got disqualified, it was an accident. I mean, I was, in a way, I was stupid, I suppose. I'd stay second and say, well, if I'm going to get past, I've got to go clean, and I'm not going to make it. So I didn't try it, and I stayed second. So I had a lot of seconds, but I won. I won some races.
Yeah.
But I tried to, I enjoyed every minute of it, really. I mean, it was a great part of my life, and it still is to now, even.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's still a welcome sight to see
it's great for me to go places now, and people remember me from back in the days, and it's all that keeps me going, really, I think.
Really, yeah. Oh well, I mean, it's good that we've still got the sport still going. If you was to pick out a skate, or even maybe a couple of skaters, I would say your time, you've travelled the world watching skating. Is there a particular skater that you could pick out, or even one or two skaters that you could pick out and say they were,
Well, I talk about them even today as my boys,
Yeah.
And when they were training up, and I had a lot of the lesser skaters come up and say, I want to be one of your boys, which
Right.
I looked upon them as, all potentially European or world champions. And, and they were all of the high enough standard,
Yeah.
And I'm very disappointed now that we've sunk so low, but it's not to do with the manager, or it has nothing to do with the manager, it's just the way skating has gone. We haven't had the facilities, and it's down the other.
That's
I mean, when I was in there, everybody enjoyed it. Everybody who come along and came and watched and everything like that, and enjoyed it. And to me, it was part of my life. I think I could have been probably better off financially now if I hadn't have put so much time to skating, but there again,
would you be any active?
It gave me a great deal of pleasure as well.
Yeah.
And I had an understanding wife who encouraged me to do it as well, which some of the fellas I know had wives or girlfriends who didn't want them to do it, and we lost a lot of people that way. But my wife was a very understanding woman and enjoyed it. I remember going away with John, your dad, and the others in there, and your mother saying to me, my wife saying, look after him. And they looked after me as much as I looked after them. So it was a joint affair, and it was very enjoyable.
Well, I as I said, I mean, I didn't start skating till 1983. So your sort of management career had stopped by then. Actual fact, I think the last time, the last year that you was the manager was 1979, I think it was, which was Ostend, where McGough and Fry won again in Ostend, and I recall McGrath being in the team, Jerry McGrath, and Mark McGrath being there as a reserve, and the old drawing the eyebrow pencil moustache on him, and
I remember Jerry coming in the team. I forget who we lost, but he came in and he fitted in very well. He did very well. I was very pleased with him coming in, that sort of thing. But as you say, I didn't do much after that, and I began to feel that after that, some of the managers didn't treat them in the manner that I would have treated them.
Right.
I mean, we had Cyril Cooper, which, well, I hate to mention his name, but he didn't do a very good job as a manager. I mean, when they went to Australia, I think he dropped one of the boys there. What was his name? One of your lads.
There was. They went to New Zealand in 1980. And they took Downing.
That's right.
John Downing.
That was the man.
John Downing. because that was Patrick's
And he
last
dropped
time.
him out, and I think he was in contention. You know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did road and track there because he was a strong lad.
Yeah, I would have liked to go to New Zealand, but I just left the docks because the docks were moving down to Tilbury and it was too far for me to go. So I took, a few pounds and left and found a job local. And I'd only just started this job, and I thought if I asked for a month off to go to New Zealand, I'll lose the job. And at 58, jobs weren't easy to find, and it was a job that suited me. You know, it was close to home, and so I unfortunately didn't go to New Zealand. I would have loved to have gone, but it just didn't come at the right time.
Yeah, because you never managed after 17. After you went to Como and Finale Amelia, I think, and then that was your last time really with the guys. Yeah. But there was a sort of change in scenery as well for the people coming through. I mean, McGough skated 81 and got medals, but that was sort of his last outing. Yeah. You'd got other guys emerging. Well, there was a Herne Bay crew, like your Jacksons and your Burgesses and and your Quinnies and your Ashbys and stuff. And of course, I think 1980 was sort of, I suppose, say Cyril went and the Europeans. I think if I remember rightly, didn't Leo Eason also manage the team?
Yeah.
Briefly at Southampton, and John Mullane wasn't selected for that.
No.
For the Europeans for whatever reason. I know he has a view on the reasons why. So you followed it through. So after, would you say that that Freifeet and Mullane McGough era was probably the last of the great skaters for Britain? Because you look at that era then. I mean, we have had medals since then. We've had Tony Marriott. We've had myself, Marriott, McGough winning the relay, and we've had Dave McFarlane. We've had we had Leon Flack, of course. We will talk about Flacky later. And of course, on the women's side, Lisa Smith, Alison Hartley. I mean, they were great, as a pair. But it seems that the people after the sort of Fry, McGough, Feet, and Mullane era have always been playing catch up. Well, and they've never really caught up.
No, that's right.
So, why do you reckon that is? Why do you reckon that?
I don't know. Well, like you were saying, the younger ones, McGough and Mullane and those, they seem to want to do it. Their heart was in it and that. But today, the latter skaters, it's, you haven't got the competition. We're running a championship with 8 or 10 skaters in, and you become a champion out of 8 or 10. In my day, your dad and Michael McGough and Feetham and those, you had to beat 100 people to get into the team even. Yeah. Which made the competition stronger and made the people who want to get in the team perform better. Yeah. But it seems so easy now that what annoyed me was that they lowered the standard of the international badge. It seemed now that if you had the money to go, you could buy your way and you could just pay and go and you got a badge. Whereas the older skaters, had to really work to get an international badge when you realise that only 4 people a year ever got an international badge out of probably 100. Whereas now it's 4 out of about a dozen, isn't it?
Do you think it's a bad thing that you have to pay your own way now?
I do, yes, but I think they're partly paying certain members of my squad at the time that overdone it, and certain other people who went as team managers afterwards didn't look after the finances. I mean, I pride myself on it that being a docker, I wasn't going to give the national body a chance to say that I would fiddle anything or anything, and I gave them receipts for everything that I had, and I was respected at the association. When I asked for money, I asked it, and I got it. Yeah. But they went stupid with it afterwards, and I said, "You'll kill the golden goose," and they did. Yeah. 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 And then, of course, the break-up with Roller and Ice from the NSA, I mean, I didn't agree with that, because we didn't put an awful lot in during the whole time that I was a manager, but we were never refused. We had the difficulty sometimes to talk them into giving us the money, but I adopted the docker's attitude that if we wanted £1,000, and I knew they weren't going to give us 1,000. I'd asked for 1,200, and they'd knock 200 off and think that they'd done a good job, but I still got the 1,000. So
Yeah,
it was a bit of psychology, actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's funny that since the athletes have had to pay their own way, that it has our success has got less and less.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, taking a leaf out of the Belgians' book, I know the Belgian Federation insists that they pay for their skaters.
Yeah.
If they can only afford to take one skater, they'll only take one skater.
Yeah.
You know, and if they can't afford to take any, they won't. They won't let the skaters pay their own way. I mean, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, you think that the Belgians have got the
Yeah, you know, very often of late I've thought, well, you know, really they're not. They don't reach a standard of international competition.
Yeah.
I mean, just after I retired there, I mean, Di and Tony and those didn't send a junior team one year because we didn't think they were up to the standard to compete.
Yeah.
I know they got a lot of flack for it, but I think it's the right thing to do. I don't think we should send a team unless they're capable of at least competing and getting through the heats. And you know, I mean, these days they very often don't get through the heats to get in the final.
Yeah, I think I suppose there's a difference between being competitive within your race. If you don't qualify but you're competitive, it's very, very different to being on the track and lapped within 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, it is difficult because I suppose if we adopt that attitude, then we probably wouldn't have sent a team for a number of years. But then maybe that's it.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, to feel that we didn't send a team or anything would denigrate the international competitions, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult.
And that wouldn't be really fair. But I think, in fairness to the skaters, they, you know, sometimes we sent teams that I thought, well, you know, I haven't felt like going to pay myself to go and watch.
Yeah, I understand that.
Because they're just, you know, I know they're not going to be in it. You know.
It's an interesting thought. I mean, looking at people like, I mean, I always think about the likes of James Ashby.
Yeah.
James, good little skater.
Yeah.
Excellent little skater, really strong. I mean, we don't see so much of him these days. And probably when if he went away, he was sort of middle of the pack. Yeah, very strong. Up against the competition in this country.
Oh yeah, it's probably amongst the best we've got.
Yeah, but didn't seem to, and I mean, he's not here to speak for himself, obviously, but he never struck me as ever really wanting to go.
No, he didn't. You know, I said to him once, why didn't you go? Oh, he said, well, I was going to a cycling competition. Well, you know, if you're going to go into a sport, any sort of sport, to get to the top, you've got to give 100%.
Yeah.
It may not be good enough to win a European or world title, but you've got to give 100%.
Yeah,
sometimes I think I look at them and I think they don't.
Well, I was talking to somebody and I said, whenever I was lucky enough to go to Worlds and Europeans, and I stood on the line in the firm belief, not that I was the best skater, but that I could win.
Yeah.
You know, and that must have been the same for you. Is that when you stood on the line in Monfalcone or Ferrara back in the late 40s, you looked around you and thought, I'm in with a shout.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd skate myself to the ground. But I mean, I did on one occasion there. I was brought down in an event before by a Swiss man, and then I wanted to get up and go on, but I was, you know, I was really knocked out, and the team manager and the others had to put me under a blanket and sit on it so that I wouldn't get back and go on.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
You know, my heart was in it. I wanted to be on there. You know, even though I know at the stage we hadn't done enough of that type of skating to win. We weren't going to be European or World Championships, but I wanted to be up in the first 10.
Yeah.
Which we did. But none of us had experience of the road skating that the other countries had.
Yeah.
But there again, we enjoyed it and we did our best.
Well, what is a question for you? What do you make of Leon Flack?
Leon Flack is a terrific trader.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But he just will not be told. he's like a lot of other people who have come along since, officials included, that come along and after 3 months or so of being in the sport, they know it all, and they wouldn't let anyone advise them or tell them. And I think Leon was one of those. I think he was a fantastic skater, but I don't know, I've seen him over there with Dyer and he's worked hard, and then when it's come to the race, Dyer's given him a signal when to go and this, that and the other, and he's just ignored it.
Yeah.
And he hasn't won.
I mean, he was our last European champion.
Oh,
and I mean, you know, only a few years back, and I mean, he was a terrific skater. He was almost a class above anybody else we got in this country.
Yeah.
I'd say he was.
I think he had the same when he went over to Iceland. I mean, he just, you know, he was just a lad that, well, he couldn't be told. He couldn't take orders.
Well, I know that. I think it was 2004 that he won his Europeans in Holland, and he begged almost to be in the team. I only know this, and I'm talking because I know I selected the team that year, and he'd asked to be considered, and he'd done no skating in this country. And in actual fact, I selected the team for Holland. When it came, I didn't go. As I say, the management team, it was a different management team, and also that year after he took his European Championships, then in 2004 in Holland, he went to Italy, and they did the track, and I know then he had a falling out with the management, all about the relay and him not trying and other. But I know I seem to recall you was. You didn't think that the management at that time had made the right decision to send him home, basically. I mean, is that still your view? I mean, or do you think that knowing now what you know, maybe it was different?
Well, I don't know. It's debatable, I suppose. I mean, I never sent a skater home.
Yeah.
I'd never even thought about it really, although there were times when everything didn't go according to plan, and I was annoyed, but not to say after having done what they done to get there and everything to send them home. I don't think I would have done that.
Right.
But I don't know, under the circumstances make the case.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be fair for me to say either way really, but
because he was a complex character, I think, you know what I mean. He was
a boy who, well, he just couldn't take orders, could he? He couldn't really talk to him. Like, I mean, when I was the manager, I could sit and talk to him, and I'd say, if you've got any problems, don't shout at me and try to make me look stupid in front of the crowd of our supporters and things. Tell me, come up to our room, I'll come to your room, or you come to mine, we'll have a cup of tea and we'll discuss it. And that's what I always did. And we got things sorted out. I never really had any big problems with any of them.
Yeah. Well, this year, it looks very much like, believe it or not, that Sutton Atkins is probably going to overtake everybody in terms of winning the most number of British titles than anybody. I mean, I think at the moment, believe it or not, Sarah Daly heads the way, I believe. Sarah Daly, and Chloe has got 37 individual titles, and Sutty's well on his way to that. What do you make of Sutty? You know, it is a complex case. Now, Flack is quite
at the time when the affair came up with Sutty, I wasn't quite as well informed as I'd like to have been about what actually happened and what was said, so I couldn't really make a comment on it. But I think for any committee to suspend a man for life, or
5 years they gave him. It was 5 years.
Or 5 years. I mean, I think that's a big decision to make for, you know, I mean, we used to suspend people, but it would only probably be for a month, 6 months, or maybe a year at the most. But for 5 years is, well, it's taking a man's skating away from him.
I mean,
I didn't know all the ins and outs of the case, you know, so I couldn't really make any observations or decision on it. But I did feel sorry for him at the time, thinking, you know, after I got to know that he was supposed to have said this, and he didn't oppose it that much, did he, anyway? I mean, if it had been me or anyone else like that, I would have wanted to make an appeal, and I would have gone to, you know, to the end of the road to prove that you know, well, give me a fair chance. You know, I may have said something in haste or.
It's quite ironic, really, because the actual committee
Yeah.
existed of the likes of Alan and Debbie Moore at that time, and Andy Porter. I know, talking to Alan and Debbie, they were saying that they were guided by the likes of Andy Porter, who says, give him 5 years, because again, allegedly had made remarks, derogatory remarks about, I think it was another committee member's daughter. I don't know the full
No, I don't know if he was.
But it was quite ironic, the fact that after his suspension was up, is that he went and skated for Porter's club, which I thought was quite amusing in some respects. Here was the guy. Whether Atkins actually knew that, but it was quite. I felt that was quite ironic. I don't know if it was amusing, but
No, I mean, he's a good skater.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you consider he must be now. He's got to be nearly 40, if not 40, and but isn't it and don't get me wrong, this is not a reflection on his ability, because he is an excellent skater. I mean, for anybody who can finish in the top 10 in the world, and I mean, but you're talking 14 years ago, 96, you're talking longer than that. So, but 15 years ago, he was top 10 in the world.
His heart was in the sport, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Otherwise, he wouldn't still be connected with it at all.
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, if they'd have done that to me, I'd have said, right, I'd have walked away, and that was it.
And that was it. Yeah.
I wouldn't bother about skating anymore.
Yeah. Well, he went to Denmark, didn't he? And made his name there. Yeah. But like I said, he's a good skater. It's just, I think it's a standing diamond for the sport when you got a guy who's 40
I feel you can be a good skater, but you can't always motivate people. But he can motivate people.
Yeah.
Di was the same. Di Davis was like that.
Yeah.
His heart was in the sport. He lived for skating. Well, I've been to his house, and all they ever talked about was skating or the Arsenal. He never spoke about work. He never spoke about his family life or anything like that. And he was the same. He could motivate people, but he couldn't motivate Flack.
Yeah. Yeah. How much did he have to do with Marriott skating? Because Tony Marriott was another one who was
well, I mean, Marriott was a natural, wasn't he? He was a natural skater. I mean, he came along from, like, junior, right, when he was young, and Mum was in it and encouraged him, and,
But as a junior...
That's what you need. Yeah. You need the encouragement of your family as well, don't you? If you don't get encouragement, well, at least they don't put anything in your way. They try and help you, money-wise and any other way they can, like that. But my family weren't able to tell me anything about skating, because they didn't know anything at all about it. But they never stopped me, and as I said, when I got married, I had an understanding wife. She didn't want me to stop. She knew that, I had lots of friends there, and so did she at the time, until she had the family, and then she didn't come so much. But she'd been away with the team, and, she did what I did. She looked after Chloe, and Chloe look after that for me, and things like that, and she was accepted as
Yeah, sure. But Tony Mallet just emerged, didn't he? I mean, like, as a junior, he was an okay skater as a kid, but suddenly, like, he got to in '98, he'd have been about 18, 19, I suppose, and like, suddenly he was awesome, and I mean, domestically there was nobody to touch him. He was the top man, but without a shadow of a doubt.
No, I mean, he wouldn't hesitate to go out and, lead out and go out and lap the field very often, didn't he?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, his strength was his strength. Yeah, I mean, he could sprint, and he could win a 300 as he could a marathon, but I think, like, he was fast over 300. But what was interesting was the fact that he could wind up in a race from sort of 5-6 laps out, and put the pace on, and nobody could pass him. Still, they was all still fighting for second and third, and I pretty well know, because I was second to him more times than I care to remember. But he was. It was an interesting. So you mentioned Di Davis. That's an interesting one. Yeah. I mean, you still hear from Di then? He's over in Holland.
Oh yeah, I've been abroad and I see Di and I talk to him and everything like that, and when I come back, but do you still talk to him? I said, of course I do. I said, his private life has nothing to do with me. Yeah. What he did by leaving his wife and that, I would have never even considered. I wouldn't think of ever doing it. Yeah. But that's his life. Yeah. I said, I was more friendly with him over his skating. There were Tony Wordsworth and Di and myself. We kept the skating and selection going for a few years, and we all enjoyed it, and he lived for it. I said, no, when I go out, I talk to him about skating. I don't talk to him about his private life, you know.
Must have been quite a shock to you though when he up to it.
It was a shock to everybody.
It
not
was a
just
bit,
to
wasn't it?
me.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it because, I mean, okay, when I was young, I was a bit of a lad, and I wasn't backward in nerve, you know,
Yeah.
playing about with the women. I like what they say down here now. I mean, I know all the women in Dunmow, and they say, "Oh, you love the women." I said, "Of course I do. I've been out to one for 40 years. If I like men, you wouldn't speak to me. You say, well, don't talk to him. He's queer." I said, "But I'm not. I'm a normal person, and obviously But Di never used to look. As far as I know, I mean, I was with him for years and years. He never looked at another woman, and
No.
he just went to work, come home, and Peggy. He had a wonderful wife because she did everything for him. She organised when he went anywhere. She'd tell him where to go. She read the maps. She dealt with all the monies, the house, everything. You know, all he had to do was go to work, give her the money. And fortunately, they were both interested in skating, and so were the family, and they all went together. And as far as I was concerned, they were just one big happy family. You know, but then when that happened, I mean, it was such a shock to me. And when I mentioned it to anybody, they say. When I first mentioned it, they said, "No, not Di." I said, "Yeah, Di." We couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was a shock. I think you're right. It was a shock. Yeah, it's amazing that, but it just goes to show, doesn't it? You know what I mean? You don't know what's round the corner.
At the time, I thought, well, I did think it was Barbara Fisher.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't know who the woman was.
Oh, right.
Knew he'd gone, like, and that, but I thought of Barbara because. Being on the committee there and judging together and that, they always Fanny and used to ring Barbara and discuss about skating, but I realised after it was only skating because Barbara's not a person who's interested in getting married or men, and Di to me was a happily married man, and he didn't, but I thought it was anybody it's her, but when it was this other lady, I was really shocked, because I mean, we'd been out to Belgium and all there where she was, but I'd never seen him with her.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's a funny old world.
It is, isn't it?
It's all sorts.
Yeah, each to their own. Yeah. So, well, what about moving on from that side of it?
Yeah.
Quad skates versus inline skates.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
What do you think? It's a good move, actually.
Do you?
The inline skates are faster and easier to manage. I don't know, I haven't never tried them. It was unfortunate that I had my hips done, and I would have loved to have tried inline skates. And I could have given you a 100% verdict on it then, but at the moment, not having tried inlines, to me, it's good because the records have gone up, and the skating looks as good, and I know sometimes the falls, like when we had the quads, we tend to go sideways and go down onto the ground and that, but now it seems that if you do happen to catch the skates in inline skates, you go head first, and it's a bit more dangerous, but the actual sports scene doesn't seem to have suffered by it.
Do you know when we had the changeover in this country really from quads to inlines, I felt, I was racing in them days, and like we were probably because I'd got my dad on board, and he's quite an astute character really. Our club got inlines, and we used to train a bit on inlines and whatever. But I felt that the federation at that time, the committee at that time, was a bit anti.
They were, yeah. I'm sure they were, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I know
interesting.
Tony Wordsworth. He's very anti. He said, "No, they're not roller skating."
Yeah.
I said, well, they got wheels, don't they?
Yeah.
But the technique was, I mean, I can see. I didn't have the occasion to try myself, but I could see that the technique was entirely different.
Yeah.
And it, to me, I mean, it leaves ice skating cold for me.
Yeah.
I can't understand why we can't get into the television and this, that, and the other, because our racing, to me, is much more exciting than the skating on ice, the short track.
That's it. Well, I mean, I'm like you. I agree. I look at our racing, and I think, how fantastic it is, a spectacle for, and then you look at the ice, and I mean, I suppose any ice skaters watching this would have quite a different view, I'm sure. But I went out to the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, to watch Chad Hedrick compete in Turin, and it was okay, and I was there for the occasion, but you know, totally different aspect on racing for me. You know, it's like a 5,000 metre. It was like a 5,000 metre knockout. You know, and it's like it's okay, but you know, you can't beat having a big group of people on a line all batting around a track. I feel.
Yeah, I do. I agree. Yeah. Well, you'll find in there with Barbara Jacobs on one occasion there we're discussing to somebody that about roller skating and ice skating, and my remark then, that's going back quite a number of years, was that anything they can do on ice we can do on rollers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which at that stage was true. But I always think that our racing presents a much more spectacle than ice speed skating.
I agree.
There's more people on the track, and
so yeah, we were saying about like the ice and the inlines. Do you think it ever will be an Olympic sport?
I'd like to hope so. I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
But so many people up in higher places have tried and made real efforts. I mean, Robert Morotto, when he presented the championships out in Italy there, well, he couldn't have done more to impress the television than the way they presented that championships there.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic, and he did everything, in according like the ice would in Olympics.
Yeah.
But I don't know why the Olympic Committee, whoever they are, can't see the facts. And
do you think it's because, well, when you think about it, we're up against sports like golf and rugby sevens and stuff,
darts.
Money talks, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
Bit of a shame, really,
I
isn't
mean,
it?
okay, I know roller skating takes a bit more camera stuff and that to televise in a proper manner than like snooker. I mean, a couple of cameras in snooker and they cover everything, can't they?
Yeah.
And I just really can't understand why we cannot get it into television and into the Olympics.
There was some talk. If I don't know, but I know I'm going back to 1972 now. Now there was I don't know if you was a team manager for Insel when the team went to Insel, and I know.
No, I wasn't the manager, but I was probably there.
Probably there, yeah. I don't know who was, mate. I don't know who was, but it might have been Henry. I don't know. But in Insel, and I just remember that we beat the Germans on their track, if you like, And there was some talk about had the Germans done really well, there may have been some inclusion for Munich, but I don't know how true that is. I don't know, or whether it was Montreal, but. It seems that there was even talk about it back in the 70s, in the early 70s. So, but we still seem to be struggling to get the interest. But
the International Federation has really tried and made quite a lot of efforts to get it in, but I don't know why they haven't been successful.
Yeah.
Because from the outside, from my point of view, they look as though they've done everything they possibly could.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they present it in a proper manner, I mean, we don't have a lot of trouble in it, do we? We don't.
No.
Not like they do in football today. I mean, although football to me is not a sport, it's a business.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Skating is a sport.
Yeah. I have often thought about, I have spoke to the owner and I've said, I've thought about running it as a business, and that is, I would buy Fizz, if you like. It's a limited company. I'd buy it. Yeah. And run it as a business. Yeah. So in other words, employ people to run it, so coaches, and generate money through coaching schemes or whatever. I mean, how viable that is, I mean, the old man just thinks it's pie in the sky, but it certainly feels like. See, at the moment I feel the current structure within Fizz, I feel that we're struggling, and I don't blame the current committee.
No.
There's nobody on the current committee who has got the experience, exactly. They've not got the history. They don't understand what it's like to put on a British.
No, I mean, they think it's something new, don't they? Like down here the other day on the radio, local radio here, they said, "Oh, we've got a new sport coming along, roller derby. We've got a ladies' team, a roller derby team."
Yeah.
So, Christ, they were doing roller derby in 1939. So it's not a new. Can hardly say it's new. I can't understand how they do it on a flat track. I mean, Adrian will probably know more about it because he's coached them a bit. I don't think he's coached them in the actual roller derby, what they do.
I bet that goes down well with
roller derby 39 and after the war was a bit of a show like all
Yeah.
in wrestling, but
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
good show and it attracted a lot of people to go and watch it. You know, it did a lot for roller skating, but you know, people like us who were on the inside knew that it was a show, but it was a good show.
Well, but there's some big name. I mean,
Yeah.
Julie Brandt Glass from the States is a big name in roller derby now in the States. But I feel that the current committee, like you say, it's a shame that they have got this lack of experience.
Yeah.
I mean, an example of that was that they put a race on recently.
I mean, when I came off the committee and eventually the younger people came along and they wanted to change things, I said, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. Yeah, we've done what we thought was right, and if you don't think we've done it properly, then you come forward and do it. And they did, and I said, if you do it properly, I'll be the first one to congratulate you.
Yeah.
But if you don't, I should be the first one to kick you up the backside.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, to me, they haven't made a great success of it. They've kept it going.
Yeah.
I've got to, give them the thanks for that, for keeping it. It's still going, and it's building up a bit now.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple of youngsters coming through, and various clubs like South Woodham and local have got skating still going, and people are still going skating and interested. We've got a big rink down here, not far from here, at Colchester, but you know they don't have any competitions on there.
No.
But
no.
they advertise for skating, and lots of people go, but it's sort of disco stuff. But when I first went there, I thought it was an ideal rink. It was very similar to the Palace, had a plank wall down one side and a good floor. But then they took part of it off the children's play area. Well, I mean, unfortunately, roller skating rinks today are businesses.
Yeah, that's it.
They were when I was there. It was still a business, even at Alexander Palace. It had to make a certain amount of money, and it kept the Palace going for years with the television and the roller skating. Otherwise, it would have, collapsed years ago. But unfortunately, when it burned down, at that time it was all ice skating. It was Torval and Dean, which were wonderful and still are today, even encouraging skating in their particular branches. But we lost out to them. Instead of getting a roller rink reinstated, we got an ice rink up there. And I spoke to the manager up there recently, and it's all going well. He gave us a guided tour of the ice rink and explained what was going on, and I can appreciate it's a good thing. But we would love to have had the roller rink reinstated. I mean, what you've done at Birmingham is absolutely fantastic. From when I first went there and helped organise the European Championships, it was just a track, and it wasn't quite finished then when we took the European Championships. But today it's an absolute fantastic to the people who have done it there, to your mum and dad and your club up there. It's really wonderful.
Well, that's nice to say, so I'm sure they'll appreciate those comments.
Every time I go there, I look and I think, oh my God, I look back and think, it's just grass there and just a track there.
Yeah.
But it's a really good setup.
So, do you think we'll have a sport in 10 years' time? Think you'll still be able to sport?
I don't know, I won't be here anyway.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, actually. I mean, for 90 you're doing all right. So, but it's...
I'm hoping it will. I'm hoping it'll build and build, even though it's slowly. I mean, okay, you can come back.
Yeah.
But to me, it's disappointing because, like I often say to people of my age and your father's age had the best years of roller skating.
Yeah.
When it was a good sport, it had a good following, and we did well.
Why do you think it's gone so low, though? Why do you think that the numbers have dwindled so much?
Well, there's so much other things for younger people to do, Not so much active these days either, is it? It's more television stuff and games, and we read in the paper every day that children are obese and overweight, and I feel mainly it's because they don't do enough exercise of any sort, not just skating. I mean, skating is a wonderful thing to keep people fit. You had to be fit to do it, and the people who wanted to do it did it and kept fit. We didn't have many obese skaters, did we?
Yeah, that's true.
And I think there's a lot to do today is that there's so many distractions for the younger people. Although I often read and I hear on the television that they're bored, and that how the hell they can be bored with what they've got going for them today, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't bored, and we never had all those things.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, okay, I took to skating, and that I was never bored with skating, and I'm not bored today with skating.
Yeah. Yeah. And it still holds it.
Yeah.
It's amazing, really, when you consider after all these years.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you have seen some sites when you think
Yeah.
about it. There was the riots in Argentina, was there?
Oh yeah.
What was that like? I bet that was a bit.
It was a bit frightening, I can tell you.
Was it?
Yeah.
What happened there then?
Well, there was some fracas between an Argentinian skater and an Italian, and it was on the last straight, so it affected the result and that. But the crowd really revolted, and they had the police there and everything, and you know, the crowd were chasing it, sort of anybody who wasn't Argentini.
Oh, right.
So I had to get the boys off quick, and we got out behind the police barrier and everything and all that. But it was exciting.
I heard they were pumping.
Frightening also at times.
Yeah, I heard they were pumping tear gas into the crowd.
They did, yeah. They had the guns there ready. Next day, all round the track, they had the people there with the guns and kept them quiet. You know. I mean, Argentina actually, I've been there 3 times, and twice as a manager and once as a judge.
Really?
And it's a funny old country.
Yeah, volatile. Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I've been.
yeah. They say this one disappeared or went, you know.
Yeah.
And then you're going along the road, you see people behind the trees with rifles and all that, and think, oh, we're safe, like, but we were anyway.
Yeah.
We were looked after well.
I've been funny enough. I've been to. Obviously, I've been to Argentina. I went in '97 for the Worlds as manager when Chris Stafford was in the team. And then I went a few years after that. I put my skates on and raced, only in an international race, but on the Mar del Plata track. And that track's obviously changed a lot since. Since I mean, it was very slippery. I understand. Did they put powder down on that track? Yeah. Because again, there was another story that the old man told me, was that it was either they put powder down and you didn't agree, or they
I don't know. I forget now.
He says there was something. He says, I know he went off his trolley.
Yeah.
He said he really he weren't happy. He says whatever it was, like, you know.
I had a similar thing back when I was racing at Leicester on one occasion, half-mile championship, and they hadn't put no powder down, this, that and the other, and it come to the final, and there was a couple of Broadway boys in there, Don Brown, Dennis Hill and myself and somebody else, and they were all moaning about it, and they said, you know, they looked to me, being a docker, like being a rebel, well, would you go and ask the NSA to what's name? And in those days, I mean, I read the rules, and I knew the rules off by heart, really.
Yeah.
You know, it was a pleasure for me to go and quote the rules. So if to knock on the door and ask to see Mr. Lord and the committee, and what do you want to discuss about the floor, like, and I went in and said, Rule 22 says the floor shall be suitably powdered for the heats and for the finals. Would you please be sure that that's done, now? And they went, what? Anyway, we did get it powdered, and we had a good race.
Oh, fair play.
But, you know.
Well, it's funny, the old man, my dad always says that like, you were perhaps I don't know, had a calming influence for him, but you let him see things in a slightly different light, because he was quite, when he raced, he was a bit arrogant, I suppose, a bit egotistical.
Yeah.
You know, it was.
Well, I could understand that, because I'd been the same.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, he told me a story about in Sesto San Giovanni in '75.
Yeah.
He drew Cantarella.
Yeah.
In the knockouts in the very early rounds, and he wanted to go out and beat him.
Yeah.
And he says, you told him, go for the time.
Yeah.
And he says,
oh no.
Yeah, he says, and he didn't want to go for the time. He says, I want to, if I'm going to race this guy, the best that is, I want to beat him.
Yeah,
and
well, the time to beat him is in the final.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. He says, if you go for the time, you won't meet him then till the final.
Yeah.
And he said it's one of the few times or whatever that he's gone for the time.
Yeah.
He says, but you know what he did tell me. I mean, he told me that he said the thing was, I went for the time. He says, and I could hear him puffing behind me. He says, so I knew that when I come to the final, I could beat him. He says, I come for the time. He says, and he couldn't keep up. He says, although he said he did beat me in there, but he said I could hear him wheezing. He says, I knew he was it on his, So all those years, but. So, like I said, Bob, I suppose really we're at the end of we've gone right back to 1921
Yeah.
March 1921, and gone through the war years and the 40s and the 50s. And I mean, like I say, our sport's in some great skaters with Leo Eason, Danny Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, you know, some of these
Ricky
guys.
May.
Ricky May. I mean, Ricky May. My dad always used to say that Ricky May was the best skater
Yeah.
he saw this country produce. You know, so
We had those two guys come over from New Zealand, didn't we?
Mervyn Wybross.
Mervyn Wybross.
Yeah.
The other one, yeah.
Yeah. So you know, and I'm just I'm pleased that.
I've had some enjoyable years out of it, I can assure you.
Yeah. Well.
And I hope to have a few more, really.
Well, and I hope you do too. And I've, you know, I've had some enjoyable years. Not quite as many as yourself, of course, but I'm quite proud of the fact that my enjoyable years have gone some way to, you know,
Added to the fact that you put a lot of time in with research and trying to get, you know, build the sport up and keep everything going. I mean, I appreciate that.
Well, somebody says without a history, there ain't a future.
No, that's right.
So
That's
you know,
right.
and I think, you know, and it's like doing this. Is I think it's important for the people because, like I said, that's where, you know, in 10 years' time will there be a sport? Well, I believe there will, and you know, and I believe the sport will get bigger. And when when it is, you know, whether
I think it will too. I think it'll simply come up. If, you know, we have years where we're not doing so well, and then we come up again. And just at the moment, we haven't got the talent at the moment, unfortunately. But there again, it took years for us to.
Yeah.
From going way back from when I was racing, we hadn't got the talent. I didn't consider myself talent enough to be in Europeans or Worlds. I mean, I wasn't competitive really, not to my way of thinking, but we gradually built up and eventually we got there.
Yeah.
And then we're on the down at the moment, but we'll come back.
Yeah, and I think it's important that those people do come back, and I think it's important that people watch things like this to understand exactly where we've come from.
Yeah.
And you know, and to give them a direction in where they want to go and where they need to be, and it's only through the likes of yourselves that they'll do that. You know, there's a lot of knowledge and experience and heart to come from somebody like yourself. So, you know, well, Bob, I'd like to just say it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it, and it's been an insight for me certainly.
Really.
So,
reminisce and go back over the years. You know.
Great. Well, I've no doubt I'll see you very shortly around some track sometime soon. And Bobby Halford, 90 years young, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.